All right, we are live. ZK Club Foundry number 6. Thank you all for joining us. If you are joining us, checking us out on YouTube, we don't have any other restreams happening today, but this is a really special one. This session is going to be about the power of community broadcasting, which has affected many communities. The ability to broadcast on a do-it-yourself level. And for a really long time, like the airwaves, we started there. Broadcasting, this concept of going from one location, from one producer of content to many. That's what broadcasting is. That's what we're going to be talking about. It's not just live streaming, which will be the focus of our discussion today. It also includes things like newsletters, email newsletters, for example. Anything where you're distributing content from one source to many, that's broadcasting. Otherwise, it's narrowcasting, which is more like one-to-one. That would be a video call. So that's some technical words for now. And today we are joined by our panel of ZK Club Foundry team, because this is what we do. Broadcasting, live streaming specifically, is the whole basis for Foundry. So I figured it's only appropriate for this team to talk about this and discuss it and let you all in on some tips, some tricks, and some different tools that we'll be using. So we have an interesting tech stack today that I'm really excited about. We have previously used different platforms for our meeting place for ZKAV Club Foundry. We started with Brave Talk, and that worked really well for us. Although after a few sessions, it became clear some limitations, and it's still a centralized service that's running Jitsi on the back end, and then runs Brave front end on it. So we tried that for a while. We tried Free to Z for a while. And now we're getting to what I consider to be sort of the golden egg of meeting places for this sort of thing. Video dot Ninja is where we are having our meeting and where this panel is meeting. And it has some really cool, powerful tools to be able to control and direct your whole show. One of the really cool features it has is a URL for each camera and shared screen that we can then put into Open Broadcaster, into OBS, and produce a really nice, fancy live stream like what you're seeing on YouTube right now, if you're watching live or if you are watching the recording. This is all open source stuff. Video Ninja is an open source project, and it's WebRTC, so it's also peer-to-peer to a certain degree. And it can be self-hosted too. So we're going to get into this in later sessions of Foundry, but I want you all to understand that we're doing this all with open source free tools. And of course, OBS is also open source. And really at the heart of what we'll be talking about when it comes to live streaming and using open source tools, OBS has really managed to capture the entire market pretty strongly. And now there are forks of OBS. There are sort of corporate versions that I think StreamYard runs OBS on the back end. And then there's some others that allow you to do some of the stuff OBS does, but in a much more user-friendly fashion. I don't have too many details on those. We're going to be focusing mostly on OBS and then mentioning some of the ways you can broadcast using cloud solutions, like you can broadcast directly from Zoom into YouTube, for example. But we'll get into that. So we have this panel. Today we're joined by John Bruling, ZK Squirrel, Ramar Enoa, and Roosevelt Gordones. And this panel I'm really excited about. Thank you all for joining us. A bunch of smiles.
Hello, everyone.
Awesome.
It's a pleasure. Just smiles. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, Roosevelt. You had a lot to do with the organization of today's discussion. And today, if you've been watching Foundry in the past, or if you've seen any of the previous sessions, they tend to be kind of random, unstructured, and we're trying to kind of refine the structure a bit So I asked our panelists earlier this week, I asked if they would prepare a section or a segment, and we ended up with an outline that we can do in recurring sessions of Foundry. One that I'm really excited about is a new segment about public and private communications using Zcash, and this will be a partnership segment with ZechHub. And thanks to ZK Squirrel for agreeing to do this. I'm really excited about that segment.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Lots to come.
Cool.
More to come.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the idea of it being a recurring thing. I think that this is, we can take it slow with each of the tools and the different things that you're going to show us. If they're experimental, then that's also very cool. And I think like ZechHub has done hackathons in the past, so maybe having this segment would be possible to do hackathon and use this segment to announce stuff.
Yeah, and also just to demonstrate, some things are possible. Give people ideas for like hackathons and things to build. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I'm excited about the experimental part of this because there's so much you can do with Zcash with the shielded memos. We used to call them dumb contracts back when I was working on Florin Coin, had a clear text memo field that had something to do with the inspiration for the Zcash shielded memo. And we were able to use that to kind of put some JSON text into the blockchain and then parse that with an API and make it searchable index of like BitTorrent or IPFS content. So something like that is totally possible with Zcash, and I've wanted to explore it. There was a grant application 3 years ago, I think, to Zcash community grants from my old team to actually try to deploy this on Zcash for the open index protocol is what they call it now. And I think that this could potentially open doors for this discussion to happen and for projects like this to happen, especially this collaboration between AV Club and ZechHub. So yeah, super excited. Dismat and Vito will hopefully be joining us for future segments as well, and they can present some stuff. So look forward to that. Keep watching. We'll get to that segment in a bit later. The other segment that we were going to highlight and start doing regularly was sort of like a hot tips and tricks that Roosevelt was putting together. And his tips and tricks were so good that I decided to turn it into an outline for the main discussion that we'll be having. So this panel will talk for like 30 minutes after we give some news and updates. We'll break into the discussion that was outlined by Roosevelt. So Roosevelt, thank you so much for that. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, thank you to you, Ryan. And like you say, is prepare this kind of events, broadcasting. We have a lot of things to do, and it's very easy to lose the way and forget. Oh, I don't remember to the cord, the plugging, the camera, the lights. I forget the lights. I think that we need a structure, clear structure, to make a great event.
Totally. Yeah, like checklists, all of this sort of thing. I've never been the best at it with my live streaming history. I tend to do things on the fly and a bit chaotic, but it doesn't work when you're broadcasting as a community. The community has different needs than an individual does. So we'll definitely talk more about all of this. I'm really excited about the conversation we're going to have. We've got Ramar behind the decks doing the production of our stream today, and he's doing a great job. This is looking already so much more professional than our previous live streams that we were broadcasting using like Brave Talk. And so this is really cool. And it's the stack is interesting because we're using Video Ninja, and then it's going straight through WebRTC. It's sending each of these video and audio feeds to Rabmar, who's on the other side of the planet from me, and then he's able to broadcast it out. So this creates not only a decentralized toolkit, but also a decentralized workflow. And you don't have to all be in the same place to produce a broadcast, which is really powerful. You do all need to have a good internet connection. Like if Robmar's internet goes out right now, then the whole show is off. So there's that part problem. But thank you,
Ryan,
Robmar. Muchas gracias. Yeah.
I think that this new layout, thanks to Rockmar, but it shows that we are evolving inside CKAV Club. We are evolving. If we look behind, we look at our old videos. We look and say, I don't like, but now we are doing better and better, and improving with new tools, and that's we want for the community.
Definitely, totally, and it's really like we could have started with this. If we would have like planned it out and put time into the designs and like the Video Ninja, we had access to it. We were already sort of using it back in November or October when we started the preseason for Foundry. But I do really like the fact that you can see this evolution happening. We're the AV Club, we're not a production company, so you can actually see the difference between like the different options that you have to do these broadcasts. And instead of us showing you some big fancy polished thing and then saying, hey, this is so easy to do, I would prefer to start with the stuff that is actually easy to do and point and click out of the box, and then move forward from there. So when people see these, go back to our YouTube channel and check out some of our previous broadcasts. There's really good information in there, and as we'll get to later, audio is far more important than video in most of these cases, especially if we're talking about podcasts. So the audio from those old sessions is just as valuable, even though the video it might be kind of compressed or poorly lit or whatever the case may be. So you can see all of this progression, and I think it's a bonus. I think it's a really cool thing. Thanks for pointing it out, Roosevelt. Yeah, and then we have John here, and I'm definitely not forgetting you, John. I was coming to you last here as introductions because I want you to help me kick off the first new segment of Foundry. We're trying this broadcast format of having different segments, and so add in some kind of structure to the actual content, not just to the stream. So, John, awesome to have you. Thank you so much. And like I've been thinking about you a lot lately, John, because we've done, I think of the in-person stuff that ZKAV Club has done, like you've been there by my side for all of them. And it's really awesome, like to see you work and to work with you. It's a real pleasure. So I was not at all surprised when you asked, or you volunteered to go to DWeb camp in Cascadia. And I want to know more about this DWeb camp that's coming up. It's August 8th to 10th. And what can you tell us about it?
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of got, the whim, I guess, to go. It sounded really cool. And it's also, it's kind of, it's not close to me, but it's also not like super duper far either. And also, yeah, it sounds really good. I really like DWeb, and previously going to the other DWeb camps and stuff. Yeah, and so yeah, I figured like I would take like some of my cameras and recording equipment, and I talked to the camp organizers just a little bit so far, and they seem receptive. Got some positive feedback about that, and basically try to archive some of the camp activities, I suppose, whatever they would have me do, and they are familiar with the or not the recording station, but the migration station, basically a recording station that we had at Navarro. So yeah, I need to get there. Right now I'm like working through the logistics, of actually packing and and then getting to camp and stuff. But after that, sort of checking in with them, and then working with them, hopefully to do that. Yeah,
Awesome.
That's about about what I've got so far. Like I said, I'm still communicating with them, but yeah.
Yeah, it's super cool that you're doing this. Of course, you did help out with the early iterations of the recording station, which was really born out of DWeb, with a bit of Hackers Congress at Polis inspiring the whole thing. But I guess like you and I had done the original sort of test deployment of the recording station at DWeb Brazil, took a bunch of equipment down there and got some of the local community at DWeb Brazil and QLab to do some recording and interviews and things for us. And it turned out really great. It's all on Internet Archive now, and I'm working on getting transcriptions and getting some translations on there because it is in Brazilian Portuguese, which there are like 100 different dialects and flavors of, and then some Spanish and some English as well. So I'm working on metadata for that, but in the meantime, in the between time, John, you and I also went to DWeb Camp in San Francisco, and this is where the migration station really became like the first attachment of a recording station to an event. And I think now DWeb and the recording station are like one and one. We really leaned in on that with the Funding the Commons DWeb space, this pop-up space that we were given. And I immediately asked if we could do a recording station, and it made sense to everyone to have this be a continuous thread that's going through the DWeb community. So that's really cool. It's inspiring, and I'm stoked that you're taking it to Cascadia and working with them. The organizing team in that's like 2 or 3 different DWeb communities that are coming together to do this. I think it's like Vancouver and Seattle, at least.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm not super duper familiar, but yeah, that's what it seems like. And I'm sure I've met, a number of them at camp. Like I definitely remember meeting Boris. But yeah, and then I'm sure I've met some of the other ones too, but yeah.
Yeah, Boris gave us a recording. He contributed to a recording at the migration station that was really great. He brought a Deutschmark, I believe. Yeah, the migration station was cool because it was like very much themed. Like they wanted to get people to tell their stories about their migration or a ancestor's migration. So they'd bring an object. Everyone who wanted to brought an object, and then they told us their story about the object or about their relative or ancestor who had migrated with the object a lot of times. Really touching stuff. It got very, very deep unexpectedly, and definitely opened the doors for future recording stations to have this kind of vulnerability that is like a really cool thing to see, especially at tech conferences. I think it's really unexpected to hear real human stories at a tech conference.
Yeah, that's cool. I shared some of those videos that we did, on the Discord, just be like, hey, here's some of the videos we did. And yeah,
Awesome.
The migration talks are really good. Gosh, and I was going to say something else, it just slipped my mind. Those videos from Brazil. That's cool that you put those up, because yeah, I was looking for those, and all I could find was one single picture, because there's one photo album, and there's just one picture of somebody being standing in front of your little camera with the little mic dangly thing that you had going on. I remember that. Yeah, so yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I look forward to doing more with that. It took 2 years to get those Brazil videos online, just because of a bunch of other stuff. But this publishing workflow is definitely something that the strategy that we're going to use to publish stuff is something that's in the works right now. And on that note, we will be releasing a bunch of new content that we have produced as ZKAV Club. I couldn't be more excited about all of this stuff, because it's been a project that I've been kind of organizing with this team since last November. And it was a lot of work, and it all came together. It was quite the adventure. and between Squirrel and John and Rabmar And Zero Darts, if you're watching, like rock stars all the way around, it was mind blowing. Berlin Blockchain Week was 2 weeks, and we went into it with 2 events booked, two-day events, Funding the Commons and Protocolberg. And before the end of, I think, the second day, we had booked something for that Saturday, the Decentralized Media Summit. And then also we were in talks with DAPCon and ZK Hack. And we ended up booking all of them. The reception that we got, the welcoming that we got was just phenomenal. And I can't wait to start releasing some of this content. It's been a month, I think a little more than a month since we started that project, about a month since we finished making this content. And we'll start releasing it next week. So we've got some approval from folks and done a little bit of audio cleanup. Thank you, John, for that. And then some editing too that is happening as a team effort. And it's really cool. The other team effort that came together, where there's content being released right now, actually, from the ZECC, Zcash, what is it, a meetup in Prague? I'm not sure, it's a summit. That's what it is. It's the summit, the Electric Coin Company Summit. So this happened in Prague shortly after, a couple weeks after Berlin Blockchain Week, and the team was all warmed up. This volunteer crew that we had in Berlin was all warmed up and ready to go, and headed to Prague, shot some beautiful footage interviewing the people who were there about what was happening at the event. Really captured some really, really great moments. And that is already being released on the Zcash Twitter account and on the Zashi X account also. So go follow Zashi and Zcash, and you can see some of this footage that has been produced by the ZKAV Club and our new recording station activities that hopefully we'll have a lot more of. For now, we have a lot of content to work through, and I'm going to use this opportunity to create strategies for publishing stuff and put together more of a predictable workflow so that we don't end up with footage from 2 years ago just being published, like what happened with the Brazil stuff. But also on the note of Brazil, unrelated to DWeb, but the Zcash Brazil team has produced a community-led workshop that is really cool. It's excellent. Yogi put that together, and it's on basic video editing. And you can check that out on YouTube, on the Zcash Brazil YouTube channel. I will put a link in the show notes. So thank you very much, Yogi. I look forward to more of these workshops coming from the Zcash Brazil team. And Yogi seems to be excited about doing more of them. So that team is going to help us set the flow and the guidelines for the community-led workshop project, as our Zcash en Español / ZKAV Club Foundry team members have been doing in the past. So check out the Zcash Brazil YouTube channel to find their most recent workshop. And we also released one on the ZKAV Club channel on how to use the command line interface for Internet Archive for publishing content. And this is an important, very important workshop that we'll actually be using in the content publishing that I was talking about just a minute ago. So if you want to learn how to archive like a hacker librarian, then go check out the ZKAV Club YouTube channel, find that workshop and check it out. More on workshops later, and your opportunities to get involved and make your own workshops. We're going to talk about that a bit later on. But I want to get to the panel. I want to start talking about why we're here. We've been going for about 30 minutes now. I'm just doing a time check because we're trying this new structure thing. So making sure I'm doing it right. Cool. So yeah, this is all about broadcasting. More specifically, we're going to talk about live streaming. It's where my background in, at least what you're watching now, it comes from. I've been live streaming since like 2010, somewhere around there. Been doing independent live streams of open source and decentralized tech meetups and things since 2014, and traveled around to a whole bunch of different places doing that format, and then just recently starting ZKAV Club and doing this kind of broadcasting and this sort of community live streaming. So we'll get into some tips and some suggestions, and hopefully we'll avoid arguments. But I think most of this is pretty clear. So Roosevelt, since you started this hot tips and lists, this list of tips and direction that we're going to go with the conversation. You want to give us an overview of like what do you see as the real power of what we're doing here?
Wow, the real power is like I wrote at the YouTube chat. Here right now we have the Zcash Brazil community members, Zcash in Spanish, Zcash Turkey. Um, we all around the world, and the power of broadcasting is precisely that we can reach a lot of people so far from our countries, and just with the a few clicks. But I know that we have a lot of toys to connect and things to be ready, but the broadcasting is so powerful, and the CKAB Club is the show to see that we are telling the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. The way that this type of broadcasting, the way that live streaming can connect not just local communities, but decentralized and global communities, and can connect communities to each other, and it's really an exponential effect. And if we can find ways to do it in an open and welcoming fashion, and open source software helps us to do that, to use tools that are on our side and that are built for communities and for people rather than like Zoom, for example. We'll get a little into like the local software and open source versus some of the cloud platforms and things. Yeah, so let's start with like technical quality. I think that it's as good a place to start as any, because it's like what people are going to see when they're watching online. It's what people are going to hear. And you wrote some tips here, Roosevelt. So like the video quality, definitely important. Having good resolution, a minimum of 720p with good lighting. Lighting can't be understated. Like lighting is definitely important, and more important than even getting a new camera in most cases. So if you have control over lighting in your house, then I definitely recommend it. I want to kind of talk about or hear more about these different kinds of challenges that we might face, because like with lighting, for example, you might not have control of it. So it depends on the type of live streaming you're doing. Roosevelt, it looks like a lot of the stuff, the topics that we'll be talking about today are more towards the person who's live streaming from home, or how did you see when you think about a community broadcast? What's the number one format that comes to mind for you?
Even we are in our houses right now. I think that the quality, audio quality and video quality is very very important. Is the best important. I make an example. If you if you go to YouTube right now and click on any video, if you hear with noise, or so down the volume, or with something that is wrong with the video, you go out and go for a new video. And when we are making broadcasting, I suppose that we want to people stay with us, and for that I think that even is totally professional, or from home or from our community in a meetup with 10 peoples, 20 peoples, or 100 people, we have to offer quality. um, we don't have to confuse quality with very expensive equipment. I want to give an example. This light, this is my portable light here in my desktop, is very cheap, but the quality with the light is better
Much
even
better.
if I don't have light. You know the
Yeah.
difference. We don't have to expend a lot of money to offer quality in our streaming, transmission, videos, and all the AV stuff that we do.
Yeah, it's true. And lights, this is actually like, I was just thinking about lights. I think about lights a lot because LEDs are my favorite new technology. I think like people like, sure, we wanted flying cars, but I'll take LEDs. I'm totally happy with this future because like not only can we do really cool programmable things with LEDs, and most of my lights are off right now, but in my place I've got like all sorts of different LED things to doing different patterns and colors and stuff, and they're not expensive now. That's one of the major benefits. Like LED technology isn't that old. I think it was like I want to say 2007 was where LEDs came out of UCLA, I believe, and this is like that's not that long ago by any measure, and the technology is getting much better as people are able to get their hands on it and play with it and tweak the designs and stuff. Like what you can do with an Arduino is pretty awesome. So LEDs, now that they're cheap, you can find pretty cheap lights to use for your at-home setup, or if you're doing a recording station, you can get some cheap LED panels, and they do a great job. They might not look very good on camera, but how often do you show your lights on camera? Unless you're doing a behind-the-scenes thing, which we do sometimes. We also have the option of doing like signs, like ZKAV Club sign. Yeah, go ahead, Roosevelt.
One thing, there is a very thin line, and maybe our public today asking what is the difference between professional broadcasting and home broadcasting. I don't know. I think that today all, even is cheaper, is professional. I don't know. What do you think?
That is like, so I use the community word a lot in all of this community broadcasting. And what is that? I tend to also use do it yourself a lot, DIY. Like I'm really big on DIY culture. DIY is what puts the punk in all of these like cypher punk and solar punk and lunar punk. Like it's DIY is the reason the punk is there. And I'm all down with it, you know, punk rock till I die. So let's like, if you can do it yourself as an individual now with the cheap technology, the affordable technology that we have, the cameras in our phones a lot of times are better than cameras, webcams in computers. And microphones are all very reasonable. Wireless microphones are very reasonable. We have amazing wireless technologies like wireless HDMI extenders to be able. Now you don't need these crazy expensive wires if you're at a venue. And like I've done on location live streams. This is what I was doing at the beginning of live streaming when live streaming was starting, was at venues, starting in the entertainment industry when you had to have a huge switcher deck and the equipment was massive. This was before OBS. This was before YouTube Live was an option. Like livestream.com, I think, was the only place you could live stream, or you set up your own server. So I was setting up my own server and we were running it that way. And the technology has changed so much, not just with internet technology allowing us to live stream in 4K in certain situations, but also cameras and lights and all this that we're talking about. So what's the difference between professional live stream and we can call an amateur live streamer? I think it's just experience at this point. And like, if you're starting now, if you're just thinking about doing live streaming and you're going to use your webcam, like the beginning sessions of Foundry that we did, you use your webcam and the microphone that's in your laptop. then just start there, and then you're doing amateur live streaming. I've even seen people live stream meetups where they just put their laptop on a chair in the front row and then plug audio in. Again, audio is super important. So like more important than video for sure. If your video is ruined and you still have good audio, then you still have useful content. If your audio is ruined, you don't have useful content. So like always start with the audio and just step it up from there. After doing a certain amount of live streams in the style that you enjoy doing it, whether it's at home, talking to your friends like what we're doing now, or if you're doing game live streams, or if you're going to meetups and live streaming meetups, you do it enough times and all of a sudden you're going to realize you're a professional. It's just what happens, you know, because if you care about this and you're putting yourself out there and doing it, then you're going to get better at it and slowly improve your equipment and figure things out, like lighting.
Yeah, and technical, like I say, the toys are important, but having a structure is very important too. you know right now that we have a structure, we are looking at the clock. We have to advance. Maybe if you don't have a very expensive equipment, but you have a clear structure and a good quality to the audio, the message, you can deliver a great message and a clear message that is the purpose of the broadcasting at the end.
Definitely. Yeah. Structure is super helpful. And in like flexibility is also useful in certain environments. If you're trying to do live stream, anything can go wrong, anywhere from your computer crashing to your internet connection going down, or if you're using Zoom to live stream, that part of it might break. YouTube might go down. We just never know. So there's always these different things you have to account for, and flexibility is good there, but also having a solid structure, a checklist of things you move through is very important, which can bring us to like tests. Tests is a very important tip, like run tests. Test as much as you possibly can with everyone that is participating in your broadcast. We do this for ZCon, which the virtual conferences that we've had for ZCon. The weeks before ZCon, we have one-on-one meetings or group meetings with the participants who will all be presenting, because they're presenting from their home or their office a lot of times. And we want to make sure that they look good, they sound good, their internet connection is working, they know how to share the screen, all of this sort of stuff that makes a virtual conference flow and look like one solid piece of material and one solid piece of content. And it really works. Zcash Foundation has started doing this on their ZCons that ZKAV Club is not involved in producing. And I think that's just a sign of how important it is to test. If you're on location at a venue, then testing is even more important. And a lot of times you can't do it until the morning of. So yeah, that kind of brings me to like recording. You should definitely record locally before even considering to live stream. It's, it's a really important thing that you have local backups.
Making a test before is very important. I have a lot of experience with recording a podcast in Zcast, for example, and talking, and after 40 minutes, oh, the camera is off. Oh no, we have to make test first. Oh, the mic is off. Oh, it's a mess, and the test is very important, Brian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, tests and checklists. And I've never actually had a production checklist for my live streams. This is something that I was asked to provide back in like 2010 or so when I started live streaming. And it was, when you're doing everything else, it's difficult to sit down and make these checklists beforehand and everything. So I just run through it, but this is not what I recommend doing at all, especially if you're working as a team, because like now I'm not doing everything. There's plenty of time to create these checklists, and it gives the rest of the community an idea of what to double check, because like you might not be recording on all the cameras. Your camera might not be plugged into your computer, or like you said, microphones being muted. Even on a basic Zoom live stream, there's some things, all sorts of stuff can go wrong. So do the tests, make sure everyone who's participating in your stream is comfortable with and turned on. Mm-hmm. Oh, Rabmar, it looks like you don't have audio going to YouTube. For yours.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But you were talking about backups,
okay.
yeah. So I think my audio to YouTube is working. I think it was just yours. So what Rabmar is talking about with the backups of audio and video, it's like record on all the cameras locally, and don't stream unless you know that you can, because if something is going to go wrong, it's going to be in the live stream. So make sure your local production is all figured out and set up, and you have these backups. So we had audio backup happening on the mixer, on the audio mixer, and in Prague they had audio also going out to each of the cameras, which is a great idea. We did that a little bit at Berlin Blockchain Week, but those events were so sort of random, and we were really doing them on the fly. So we sometimes missed some things like wiring the audio between all the different cameras. It's fine, but in the future, this is the kind of thing we'll have a checklist for, to make sure every camera has an audio feed on it, and that we're recording on all the cameras. And the live stream part of it, this live stream with Victor Tron that Rabmar mentioned, was the only time that we tried to live stream from the recording station at Berlin Blockchain Week. We did live stream a whole event, the Decentralized Media Summit, and it was awesome. That's out. You can see that on the ZK AV Club YouTube channel. You can watch all of the individual talks and panels from the Decentralized Media Summit. Super cool event, and we are going to be working with them more in the future. This is a natural fit, I think, for ZK AV Club. So the Victor Tron interview, we tried to live stream it onto Swarm, which is Victor's project. Him and his team have been working on Swarm, which is live streaming using Ethereum. Very cool project. And it does work. It worked really well. We were trying to live stream through Wi-Fi at a really crowded conference. So that I was skeptical about that. We wanted to try it just as an experiment. And we ran into some problems with the network. And then we also had these audio problems of the way that the audio was wired. It was getting to the live stream last, and it was being passed through several cables. So it was really degraded by the time it was hitting the internet. but we had this local backup that we were then able to use Audacity to clean up the audio on. And it was amazing. Like we'll next session of Foundry next month, we'll dig into audio production and post-production, and specifically into this process with this interview. I want to show you all some of the like different stages that we had it at and where it ended up, and we'll kind of go over how you can do that. So, John, you missed out on all of that fun at the Victor one. It was wild, man. We were pulling all sorts of wires and headsets and adapters out and trying to figure it out. So you would have had fun.
Yeah, I heard about it for sure. Yeah, sorry I wasn't there for that. But yeah. sounds
Squirrel.
Yeah.
Squirrel, you were there. You were part of the interview with Octahedron and talking to Victor. And have you heard the fixed up audio on that interview yet?
I did, yeah. It sounds
I'm curious, like you've done live streams from Venezuela, yeah? Since Robmar's not here, I'm curious if we can get like get some input or feedback from you on like how the internet connection in Venezuela is compared to like Europe. Is there? Oh, he disappeared again. And Robmar is where did Robmar go?
Ryan, I lost you. I lost you.
Up, Roosevelt.
Okay, okay. Audio is broken.
Well, that's kind of appropriate timing with the topic.
I
So,
I
yeah,
lost
kind
you
of.
from
Yeah,
No.
chat was recording, no audio, but I can't verify.
And it looks like now, Roosevelt. You're breaking up. I don't know if this is like a live demo of what can go wrong when your internet connection.
Le-
Are you on Wi-Fi?
Hola, 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 hola.
Oh, your video caught up now. No, still dropping.
And now?
Proof that it's
No.
Yeah.
live.
Yeah, I hear you now.
Dropping. And the
Yeah, it seems to be better now.
yeah, this is the kind of things that the kind of things happen in our broadcasting. It's very important that you that depends on the kind of event that or the broadcasting you're thinking you're thinking. I have right now by the rate that this is by the rate.
To 5 Mbps is I think what would be recommended for HD.
There's no audio on YouTube again.
Thank you, John.
Keeps going in and out. Yeah, I just hit play on YouTube and I could hear John say there's no audio on YouTube again. So I don't know if it's cutting in and out, but we're gonna keep going. And I hope that Robmar has a backup recording. All sorts of fun tests. This is
we're hoping that Romer have the follow our tips.
Definitely. Absolutely. I hope he's paying attention. And like his work, it was so incredible to see Robmar work at Berlin Blockchain Week. That he was working the entire time behind the laptop and doing all of the cutting and the designs and things, recordings there, and we were recording on OBS. So hopefully he's got this all okay. Apparently we're okay on YouTube audio again now. So let's keep going, and the show must go on, as they say. So I think we've got about 30 minutes left, and there's a lot left to talk about. But like we could talk about local software using something like OBS versus using Zoom or Brave Talk. These tools that are hosted on the cloud and have a option to live stream out to YouTube or a service. It's open source and local first is really close to the kernel of what the ZKAV Club is and what we talk about. So I don't want to get too much into this right now, and instead I would like to just kind of breeze through some of these remaining points that we have, and we can get on to the next segment so that we don't go over this 90 minutes, or maybe we can a little bit. But OBS definitely is recommended. I would love to hear if there were more open source like forks of OBS that are out there that people are using, things that are more simple to use, things that do specific kinds of streams. This is all fair game for these community-led workshops. Any kind of open source streaming solutions that you're using, whether it's, even if it's a cloud-hosted one, like there are some DJ apps that are really cool that Robmar uses for ZK Radio. And you can get a 5 ZEC reward, a 5 Zcash reward for doing any of these workshops. So we're going to get more into that, and you'll learn a lot more, hopefully, about these different open source broadcasting solutions in the workshops. So stay tuned. We're not going to get into it right now, though. Content preparation is really important if you're doing this kind of community broadcast. If you're doing this sort of live stream that we're doing right now, or if you're doing a podcast where you're just live streaming to your chat box and to your community that way, then definitely go in with a plan with some key points for content. I think this is more of like Squirrel. I know that you're real big on preparing for streams and things. I tend to sort of like freestyle it, but like, how important is it to you that you have? There we go. You want to talk about this a little bit?
I guess it depends on the person, right? What they're comfortable doing. But at least just a list of things that you would like to go through. You might not use it, but if it's there, why not? Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, we have this outline where we're trying this new structure for Foundry, and I'm feeling good about it. I'm a bit like timid about it, just because it's the first time that we've tried to apply a structure, but I'm fairly certain that all 4 of us, plus Rodmar and maybe Ora also at home, have this open and are reading through it right now, and it's giving more of a cohesion that I think is good. It's more of this connectedness that, yeah, I think that helps.
Sometimes, guys, I hear people asking me about what I recommend. If I recommend a strict script, and that the speaker say word by word, I think that is a very difficult, and I think that I to remember a lot of text. I recommend to have steps, a few tips like our structure today, Ryan. If the streamer, the speaker, the main speaker, or the host have a clear structure of the content that want to say, want to share, I think that it will be successfully because you are going through point 1 to point 20, for example, and it will be very easy.
I agree. I tend to favor more of an outline, even just a few bullet points of like, so you don't forget to say stuff. For example, I keep forgetting to thank the Zcash Community Grants Committee for sponsoring Foundry. It's at the top of my outline here, and I think in every session of Foundry I have forgotten. I hope that I give y'all enough love because it is a really big deal that we've been enabled to do this entire this series and to grow and evolve like you were saying, Roosevelt, the way that this has evolved. This is only possible because of this grant that we received. So Zcash Community Grants, thank you for that, from that committee. And we'll definitely be talking more about Zcash Community Grants as the year comes to a close and in these remaining sessions. They also provided us with, part of that grant is it's bookmarked for community participation, for community collaborators. So it's 8,000 USD, which is being stored as Zcash, as workshop on something he wasn't an expert at, and I think that's an actual strength. So us doing it and getting the workshop in, it actually gave him confidence and strength to be able to do more workshops. So you can expect to see Tommy around some more, and hopefully y'all will join us for making your own workshops. We'll circle back to this at the end of this session. We'll talk a bit more on workshops. But in the meantime, thank you again, Zcash Community Grants Committee. And outline is super important, especially if you make sure to bold in the parts that you don't want to forget to say. Writing a script, my memory also is garbage, so I can't memorize a script to save my life. There are really cool teleprompter kits and things that are available now, and there's ways to create your own teleprompter that actually will, like, you have a tablet or something that has the text and it reflects up to a surface that is either right below or actually over your camera, and you can read the text while looking directly into the camera. So I know a lot of live streamers do this. If you want any more information about these kinds of things, there's plenty of it on YouTube. If you want to figure out how to live stream like a pro, just search for how to live stream like a pro on YouTube, and you can get a lot more in depth with the pros about producing your own live stream. Today we're more about talking about like the community benefits of live streaming and some of the big picture stuff to look for and to consider if you're going to do a live stream. This also includes like Twitter Spaces, I suppose, when we were talking about platforms that you can use. And in that case, audio is everything. There's no video to go with it. So some of these tips are very helpful there as well. Twitter Spaces is kind of a different thing. But yeah, content preparation, outlines. If scripts are your thing, then use scripts. If you break the live stream down into segments like we're doing now with Foundry, you can have some sections that are scripted if that fits the presenter's style. We might have segments in the future of Foundry that are more like a lightning talk, a presentation of something. I think that some of the Zec Hub segments could be like this, where it's a presentation of a certain tool or a technique, and it's presented in that fashion. So some people might want to script it, others might want to do an outline. If you're doing a community broadcast like this, where there's several community members involved in participating, you definitely want to have a shared document where you have an outline. And it took us 7 months to figure this out. Well, it took me 7 months to execute. So yeah, it's not necessary, but it is incredibly helpful. And it feels nice to have this on here for sure.
Ryan, an extra tip about what you're saying about one of the biggest fears of some people is some people don't know how to where when I speak where are my eyes. I have to see at the camera. I have to talking looking at the ceiling. That is a very little tip, uh, and it's important if you're talking to a, um, a camera, a laptop. You have to talk to the camera, not to the other side, because the audience is important. The audience is the next step that we're going to talk about. The audience is here, and if you don't look to the eyes, people maybe ask, "Are you talking to me?" It's important.
It definitely is. Also, like, you can cut clips from it later and upload or share specific clips of any of your live streams. This is definitely recommended. And in those cases, if you're looking over here at this screen and I'm reading the chat now on my second monitor and my camera is way over here, then it looks weird and it makes that clip not necessarily as impactful. So it's all about audience, like knowing your audience, and with that's just true with content. I think like that's the number one rule of creating content is know your audience, be able to communicate and empathize and relate to them. And in live streaming, then like you mentioned it, Roosevelt. Let's talk about audience for live streaming, because one of the biggest benefits or one of the biggest values is the live audience interaction. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's very important. I think, like you say, we are creating content or we are broadcasting to deliver a message, to deliver an idea. And right now, for example, I'm here in the video ninja, but if I change to my YouTube um, screen, here the chat is very active, and this is important. Um, uh, uh, Again, like you say at the beginning, Ryan, that depends of the kind of events that will go to deliver. If it's a bigger, if you have a lot of platforms to broadcast, maybe you need to have a team. For example, like is writing on Twitter. This is important. The audience is very important, and I think that the one of our mm, main objectives from CKAV Club is when we cover an event. If we cover an event, we want that the audience say to us if can hear, if can see, if understand, if it's easy to understand, or whatever the audience have to say. And I think that is very important at this point, the audience.
It absolutely is. And you bring up a good point that the audience, like interacting with the content and in this kind of setting of live streaming, the interactions we get from the audience are awesome. If you all are asking questions, like if you're watching this and you have a question or a comment on what we're talking about, put it into the chat. If you're watching the recording, then put it into YouTube and interact with us in that way. And during the live stream, if you're the live streamer, then your audience can provide a lot more than just being an audience. There's this feedback of like your audio isn't great, your video isn't great. A lot of times when I would start a live stream of a meetup, I would jump straight into the YouTube chat and say, how are my audio and video? And someone would say it's all good. And having that reassurance is just like, okay, awesome, we can move forward with everything else. And it's a pretty simple question to ask. So that kind of reassurance is really excellent, and often overlooked, I think, in audience interactions, like helping the audience to feel like a part of the broadcast instead of just being the audience. Another example of an audience interaction would be restreaming. So I don't know if this is happening right now, but generally ZKAV Club Foundry is also restreamed into the Zcash Global Discord for the Friday Lounge. And this is done by a community member. who's available to do it using techniques that we've taught or we've talked about in Foundry. So audience can participate if they feel a real sense of belonging and participation and opportunity in your broadcast. So don't ignore that. It's very powerful.
And sometimes the restringing is some days after, and in that case we don't have the live interaction. But I think is another tip is interesting to read what comments people left, because we can find gold in the comments sometimes.
It's true. Like YouTube keeps this chat history. So when you're rewatching it, you can see the chat populate when it gets to the point where the people are posting the chat. That can be disabled. YouTube chat, of course, can be disabled. And a lot of times for big conferences, especially crypto conferences, they disable the YouTube chat because of trolls. And you need moderators, and moderation is it's not free usually, so it's a lot cheaper to just turn off the chat. But this is totally eliminating one way that your audience can interact with you. Squirrel, I see you shaking your head and nodding and stuff. Do you have something to add to this?
Yeah, like sometimes trolls can be a good thing. Yeah, they bring some liveliness to the conversation. It might not always be what you want to see, but yeah.
This is true. Like, and I sort of sometimes hesitate to, like, calling trolls is not necessarily helpful, because it's definitely othering to a certain degree. And I think, especially if it's your own community that you're broadcasting to, if it's your own community that you're chatting with in a forum, which is another form of broadcasting, is posting on a forum. This any kind of dialogue in those environments within your community is valuable, and especially if it's critical. Like, if we can't criticize our own communities, or if we can't listen to the criticisms within our own communities, then I think that these communities, these projects are bound to fail. So I think it's really important that we have these dissenting voices. So now let's see if we get a whole bunch of trash talk in the chat after I said that. Yeah, basically I should wear a shirt next week that says, like, troll me, please. Yeah, audience is really important. It is one of the big values of live streaming, is the interaction. I wouldn't say that, for me personally, I don't think it's the biggest value for live streaming, because like I mentioned earlier, you live stream something, it's stored on YouTube, it's available for rewatching. Most of the views from a live streamed meetup or a conference that I've done in the past will happen within the first 24 hours of the view going up, of the video going up. You can restream it onto, like, X or something later and get whole different metrics, which is kind of fascinating to broadcast something that's already been recorded. It's something I definitely encourage people to do, because creating content is one thing and broadcasting content is another. So you can very easily just broadcast a video that's on YouTube. I have done these that go on for like 3 days straight, where I was playing YouTube videos and just restreaming that into Discord. Created some really interesting dialogues. And I also noticed like a year ago, someone uploaded a bunch of, if not all of the AgiLeak videos onto Internet Archive. I just noticed it like last week. So I thought that was pretty cool. I have no idea who the person is, but I have a feeling this has something to do with this restreaming of my old stuff that I've been doing. So restreaming content is very helpful, whether it's live now or something that you're doing a week after the event. We did this with ZCon 6, was that the last one? Yeah. And we had some really great panels, like a panel with Vitalik, several panels with Zuko, and I wasn't able to restream all of them onto X, but then the next week I kept restreaming and did a little experiment there and got some really good metrics on that. So exposure to the content, which is really the main point here, is that, like, with live streaming, you can have the thing online, be done with it, do something with it later, and you get that live interaction, which is great too.
Yeah. I recently spoke with Omniflix, and they have this feature on their platform where you can have a 24/7 round the clock stream going, and you can, yes, just to have your content always available. So when you go onto the main page of Omniflix, there's these like permanent streams happening. Yeah,
That's really cool. It's like old school TV broadcasting.
right.
You schedule it out and you can tell people like this is the programming. Also reminds me of like college radio. The university I went to had a radio station that was run by the students. Some of my friends ran them, and that was super fun to listen to. To listen to those live broadcasts, make requests and stuff.
Yeah, I'm kind
That's
of
cool.
working on something similar.
Oh, nice. Omniflix is an interesting thing. I know you all had a call with them some weeks ago, and I watched part of it, but I have yet to understand how the back end is working. If like, how decentralized is it? And
Yeah, so it uses IPFS. I don't
okay,
exactly know how, but the content when you upload it, it's to IPFS, and they add. It's possible to add like token gating through NFTs, which you mint on the Flix chain, and you can do all kinds of things like you can add a whitelist to like only enable a certain subset of your audience to like view videos, or you can create interactive videos. I thought this was like the especially if it's for educational projects like ours, you can select points in your videos where it will stop and it will present a question. You can like ask your audience questions. If they've been paying attention, they can answer the question correctly, and it will either skip to a preset point in your video or it'll just continue going. And you can make these optional or like fixed. So yeah, it offers a lot of features.
that is really cool. Do they do live streaming also? Like you mentioned this infinite stream thing, but like live streaming with IPFS, I
Yeah.
think is a bit tricky.
Okay, so like when you upload content, it's to IPFS, but you can live stream. We had like an onboarding call, and the person said it's possible to use like a stream key through OBS.
Ah, cool. Okay. Super curious to hear more. Workshop on OmniFlix might be interesting. Of course, depending on whether or not it's open source. I'm hoping it is. Fingers crossed. Yeah. So that would be cool, and maybe an opportunity for someone from the OmniFlix community to come over and earn some Zec. I think that would be pretty neat. So yeah, if anyone has contact with them and puts us in contact with them, then maybe we can get some more details on OmniFlix. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I'll be glad to. Yeah.
Nice. Okay,
Ryan,
so yeah,
Ryan,
yeah. What's up?
We have a question here, the YouTube chat. Yogi, what, what should I do to reduce anxiety before life? This is a very, very good question. But let
Please.
me share my experience. Several years ago, I I was comedian with uh, I lost the name, stand-up comedy, and told me that you always feel anxiety, feel nervous. That's is necessary. That energy is necessary because the day you don't feel that, you are dead. Okay, what you can do, the recommendation, maybe breath, or maybe drink some water. Even I remember that a partner of comedy partner says to me sometimes, I drink a lot of water before a presentation, and if I want to make pee, I don't go to the bath. At the end of the show, and that pressure is to motivate to be, I don't know, slow. I don't like that tip, but some some people are strangers. People sometimes have different ways to manage the anxiety, but I recommend breath and water. I don't know, what do you recommend, Ryan?
I had to like kind of laugh at this at the question, and Yogi, it's nothing personal for you. I can relate so much, and like patience, give it time, and keep doing what you're doing is kind of the advice that I would give to anyone. And like I know Yogi has been participating with ZKAV Club since we started, and is really picking up his skills and participating and contributing to through the workshops and through other projects that we've been doing, like live translation, since we started the club. So yeah, Yogi just did this workshop on video editing and did a really great job with it. I couldn't tell that you're anxious, but then again, like I was reading the subtitles, I can't pick up the language cues and things that would give that away. But it's really just a matter of doing it a bunch of times, and eventually the anxiety becomes less of a problem. I'm not going to say it goes away. I don't think that it goes away completely. Avoid caffeine. That would probably be a good one that I don't listen to. But yeah, you should have seen me when I was starting these live streams back in like 2010, 2011. I was at live events and not meetups or anything. I was at like pole dance expos and showcases and competitions where there's athletes around, there's fans around, there's venue people and sponsors, and all of that is affected by your anxiety when you're in this environment. And I remember, like, again, this is early days of live streaming. It wasn't all like out of the box. You couldn't live stream through your phone. YouTube Live wasn't a thing. We didn't have HDMI cables. So like this was back in the day where all sorts of different things can go wrong. And I was a noob, so I was clearly panicking when it wasn't getting off to the internet, or when something else was going wrong. And this was just messing up the vibe all around. So like I'd say practice at home, get comfortable with what you're doing prior to going to a place. If I can say anything that's reassuring, at some point in my live streaming career, one of the conference organizers came up to me and actually complimented me on how cool and chill my vibes were, and that she knew every time she looked over at me, everything was going fine as far as like the recording and the live streaming goes. So it took many years, and it really, if you have other people around with you in your community that you're streaming with, it will give you confidence. Streaming alone is a lot more anxiety inducing. It's a lot more stressful. You have a lot more weight on your shoulders. So get some people to help you out with some different parts. Co-hosting, having a co-host is a really great way to cut your stress in half, or your anxiety in half. That's why, like, I'm so grateful to have this panel here, and that y'all are, that you're contributing and participating. When I'm nervous, I just keep talking, so. Yeah. Yogi, thanks for the question. Excellent question. If anyone else has questions, feel free to ask in the chat. We are starting to go a little overtime here. So we didn't really get into security and privacy. But if you're curious about this sort of thing, like privacy in a live stream is a really big topic. It goes to like respecting your own privacy, where you don't want to be, for example, sharing your screen when you are like typing in a password that you have to expose, for example. some early Bitcoin wallets back in let's say 2010, 2011, some of the web-based wallets would have some private key information in the URL. And there was a group called, what was it? It was Webcam Girls for Bitcoin. I can't remember the exact name of it, but in some old Bitcoin magazine, there's an article about this, that there was the webcam performers that were sharing their screen, and they had their wallet open and they had all of their Bitcoin stolen. This was back in the day when Bitcoin was around like $5 a piece. So like that was a serious problem that they couldn't really control. There was no way they would have known that the URL could have this vulnerability. So always be careful when you're sharing your screen. If you're doing an at-home live stream, if you're presenting at a conference and you plug your computer into the projector, if there's a live stream set up there and they happen to be live streaming when you first plug in or open your browser or open the computer files on your computer, this stuff, sometimes you don't know what it's going to open up to. It can be super embarrassing at least. It can be destructive at worst. So just be real careful when you're sharing your screen. This is one of the more obvious privacy leaks that is also one of the more damaging. But like live streaming at protests and things has been, since live streaming started, there was Tim Pool, who still has a podcast and everything, and he was live streaming the Occupy Wall Street protests in New York, and really pushing the envelope with like on the street live streaming. It was pretty impressive what Tim was doing. And there's this issue of live streaming on the street and in protests where you're actually exposing people to law enforcement, to the people that they're protesting against. And now facial recognition software being what it is, it doesn't take long for police to come up with lists of whatever you want to call them, the opposition. This is incredibly bad for other people that you're trying to support in live streaming the protest. So please be careful with who you point your camera at. You never know what their privacy concerns will be. And then there's also audio, as was pointed out to me after our Prague event. With the recording stations, I don't necessarily require there to be no background noise. I think that it's kind of cool to have some background noise for some of these conversations at the event. It sets a vibe, it sets a real feeling and atmosphere. On the other hand, if there's a microphone is picking up a conversation off camera, then that background audio might be, it might be a privacy leak for some folks. So if you're live streaming especially, then you probably want to make sure that you don't have any background noise. If you're doing a recording of it, then be careful with what happens with your recordings. So that's about all that we need to say about privacy for now, I think. I want to get to the next segment. Unless anyone has anything to add here while we're still on the topic of broadcasting in general.
Hola, ¿me escuchan? ¿Me escuchan? ¿Hay audio? ¿Hay audio?
Or whatever. In case of some people say, "Oh, that's only that content," or whatever. I don't know what can happen. How can you defend or it's important, I think.
I agree. It is important, and it might not be important to the individual who's live streaming. Like everyone has their own opinions on intellectual property, and that's not the point. That's absolutely not the point. Like wherever you're live streaming to, which platform you're using to live stream to, recognize that they have control over how the content that you're live streaming is licensed. And this is true in some cases where like CapCut has recently said in their privacy statement, they updated their privacy statement or terms of use to say anything that you edit using CapCut is all property of them and they can do what they want with it. So that's pretty gnarly. There was another project that I saw that just came out with the same sort of thing as far as like the platform relicensing or owning the license for your content. That's pretty shady and scary. But then there's the classic thing of YouTube where if you're live streaming and there's some background music playing, YouTube will pick that up and they'll run it through their databases. And if it's copyrighted in a way that doesn't allow you to broadcast it because copyright has specific rules for broadcasting, then you'll get a mark on your YouTube account. I haven't had this happen. I have had music noticed in my YouTube channel in various forms, whether it's background music or a live performance, and it gets noticed by the copyright check, and it puts something up there saying that it's okay that you're using it in the case of royalty-free music. And I'm really careful with not broadcasting anything that is copywritten, just because I don't want to deal with the cops. You know, like the copyright police are not a crew to mess with. So if you're live streaming onto Discord, like we encourage people to restream things a lot, and I just said like using content that's already produced and restreaming it is a great way to practice live streaming and a great way to grow your community with very little content creation effort. Make sure that you have the right to do this. Any of the AV Club stuff, like it's all Creative Commons, so you can definitely do that. There's a lot of fair use and Creative Commons content out there. Just make sure you double check it because, for example, I would discourage anyone in the Zcash Discord to go into one of the voice chats and start live streaming, I don't know, Indiana Jones, for example, because like it's not even about who might be watching in your Discord. It's the fact that Discord might be watching. And if Discord is watching and sees that you're live streaming something that's copywritten, I've heard that they will just close the server down. So that would be a disaster for your entire community. You have to be really careful with this stuff. It's true. So yeah, we could get a lawyer on here and talk more about copyright, but I would much rather move on. That was a good discussion about live streaming and like do-it-yourself kind of live streaming, community live streaming. In future sessions of Foundry, we're going to get more into the details of this whole process, from meeting platforms to making your own virtual conference, the audio production stuff we've talked about. So pay attention, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on X and Blue Sky, and keep track for deeper information about what we were just covering. This is kind of an overview of the whole thing, where Foundry is going from now on. So now let's transition. And I don't know if the transition graphic is going to work. I can't actually see it work or not. So this might be a little awkward, but Robmar, if you hit that transition into our new Zec Hub segment, then Squirrel, you can kick us off with your first presentation of public and private communique.
Okay. I don't know, has it played?
We'll see.
Okay. Well, I'll just begin.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone. This is a special segment where I'll be going over the public and private broadcasting or publishing opportunities that you have with Zcash. So like the primary example, which everyone should be familiar with, is zecpages.com. So this was a service which allowed people to send a shielded memo to a message board. And because it was a shielded memo, the sender, so the source of the transaction, it wasn't tied to any identity, unless you chose to sign up and create like an identity which matches the posts that you made. And so, yeah, it was an anonymous message board. This is a way that you could broadcast a message to the entire world, essentially anyone who had access to the internet would be able to see this message. I wonder if this, yeah. So it used a view key. So with Zcash accounts, if you have a wallet account, you can extract a view key, and this view key allows anyone to view the messages or the transactions that were received by that wallet account, and it doesn't allow for like spend authorization. So it's really like, yeah, it's like reading the full history of a Zcash wallet account. And so yeah, it used this view key and essentially just posted everything to the public website. I don't know. Have we got any thoughts about Zec pages? Did we have users on Zec pages? What type of messages did you guys post there?
I remember Zec pages since early days of Zcash, and it was one of the first novel uses of Zcash. I think of the memo field. I'm a big fan of all of this stuff because of the technology, not necessarily because of the finance part of it, the monetary part of it. So seeing Zcash do something that it's not typically used for, especially this early on, I think was really, really cool. And who was it that, is this still running, Squirrel?
No,
No.
No.
Yeah. So
that was Michael Harms. That was something like that, was like, just like it. But yeah, I imported the viewing key once just to try it out and everything, and yeah, it was like just a regular wallet, with all the memos and stuff. Yeah. I did have, well, perhaps I still do, listing on there, and I posted a few times, but I didn't use it too heavily. I did check it and read through it every couple of days or so. Yeah.
yeah. So how it like one of the important things that came out of Zec pages was that it became a place where important Zcash transactions ended up. Like I think the most recent one was the first Frost signed Zcash transaction. Was it included a memo and it was sent to zecpages.com. So this kind of historical, like record keeping of events, similar to like how the first Bitcoin transaction contained like the newspaper thing of like the bank is on the brink and they're going to get a bailout, right? So having something like this on Zcash, which provides people anonymity if they're going to use it, is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. And this is interesting because it's like broadcasting, as I explained it earlier, was like one to many, and this is sort of many to many. And it's all anonymous, which can create pretty interesting dynamics in like a social network, for example. And I'm looking at the Zec pages GitHub page right now, the GitHub repo, and I'm seeing the last time it was updated.
Yeah, so he took it down
5 months ago.
Yeah, but it is being brought back. I think it's Leet Bytes who is working on the successor. I don't think it'll still be
Awesome.
called Zec Pages, but yeah, this service will be coming back. If you can think of any way to like augment or modify something like this, go for it. So ZecHub is soon going to be hosting a big hackathon, and it's this type of novel usage of Zcash and its capabilities that we're really looking for. So, interesting fact. A long time ago, I actually was a big fan of Michael Harms. So it was primarily because we shared like a taste in music. So you could say in some strange roundabout way, it was music that led me to Zcash? Question mark. And so
Interesting.
I built a radio station that uses Zcash to invite people to share music. So I wish I had it open. I don't now, but you have to take my word for it. One of the longest lasting forum posts, forum threads on the Zcash community forum is, what are you listening to? Like, it's got the best vibes out of all the Zcash forum threads, and it keeps chugging on, right? So like, I think music is one of those universal things. So what does it have to do with Zcash? Well, because Zcash has this encrypted memo field, what you could do is say, hey, we have this public radio station. If you wish to queue a song, send it via memo. And, it's up to the person who's running this radio station. This is just a proof of concept, but it would be possible to say, like, to queue a song, there's a minimum fee of 0.0001 ZEC. I don't know, to prevent spam or something. And so they could send a payment along with the song that they want. And yeah, you have this radio station where people are sending the songs they like and they're listening to new music. And it actually introduces a lot of opportunities for, I don't know, interesting gamified mechanics where, let's say we raise the cost to submit a track to $1, and you have a history of tracks from all the people who've submitted them, and once per week there's a committee of people that votes for the tracks that they like, and at the end of the week we have the list of top tracks, and the person who came in first place receives let's say 80% of the funds that were received to the service, like when everyone was queuing tracks. So the person who has the best taste in music that week suddenly gets rewarded. And I don't know, the other 20% could be burned by the network sustainability mechanism, which goes into feature block rewards for the network itself. All from music. So yeah, there's another interesting thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really interesting. Like, just initially, the first thing like I think of is like you have to almost like conceal these selections at first, like to prevent like gaming or whatever, or or something like that. But otherwise, yeah, I mean it sounds kind of neat. Like if you could keep it like legitimately, like you're actually like there's no like coercion, like you and on your 50 other like little friends showed up and you're all working to win consistently.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise, yeah, that's really cool. And I saw this thing earlier, I was wondering what it was. That's neat.
Yeah. So radio station, payment gating, and yeah, that's one thing. I don't want to get into this one now. I would
That's
like
cool.
to. Yeah. Here's another one. So this one's interesting. I think it was last year. Yeah, this was last year. I created ZecTransmission.com. And so it was a service that allowed you to send a Zcash memo anywhere around the world via satellite. And so what's happening here is someone sends a memo. That memo is received to my Raspberry Pi over here, which is running a Bitcoin node and a Lightning node and a Zcash node. And so it receives the memo and it takes the text out of the memo. So one thing about Zcash is you can create payment requests. And so the payment request, as you can see, can be represented just as a QR code, which is scannable or detectable by a wallet on your phone. So you can see here, it knows that YWallet in Zingo is installed, and it just opens it with the pre-filled amount, prefix, and the rest of the memo or your message. And so the way it works is to send a message via this satellite API service, you need to pay in Lightning. So yeah, I just had a script that took the message, sent it via this API service with a Bitcoin Lightning payment, and it was sent all across the world. At the time I was doing this, the region, my region of the world wasn't like their satellite, their geostationary satellite was down, but it is working at the moment. So if you want to get something like this going, I'll strongly recommend it. And so what you have in this case, as Ryan was saying, is you have one to many, or one to all, apart from, I don't know, South America's down at the moment. So think of this as either a public service announcement type service or a numbers station, where it's an anonymous person sending a message to a service that is able to read it. So you could have some kind of moderation happening there. And then it's going out to the whole world. As long as someone has a satellite receiver, like a satellite dish, and a software-defined radio USB stick, they're able to receive messages from space. Cool.
That is so cool. That's really awesome. And they're anonymous messages as well, so there's no censorship possibilities, which is very powerful. This reminds me of the Arab Spring, which is where like Twitter really took off during that era, the core series of events that happened that spring. And I remember I was just doing a quick search for it and I can't find it now, but I do remember that they had, because they kept having internet blackouts in the area. Internet blackouts is something that the DWeb community thinks about a lot and plays with some technologies to get around a lot. And I don't know who was responsible for it, but they did end up setting up I think it was satellite, or it may have been through like ham radio or something, but I feel like they were using satellite to send tweets that would then get so you could send a message to the satellite and then it would get posted on an account on Twitter, which this reminds me of that. And you could probably even tweak this application to be able to post on social media accounts at the endpoint there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, satellites are hard to shut down, but I mean, yesterday Starlink was down for the entire world. So ham radios,
Dang.
that stuff, yeah, that stuff's cool as well. And it is possible through Blockstream's API to encrypt a message to a specific receiver. So it could be one-to-one if you wanted.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's one thing. Okay, maybe very quickly, just a final one to end on, is a shielded newsletter. So this one is like the one that I would stress the most as if you're a builder, you should go for something like this. The reason is it's like very low lift. You don't even necessarily need to run a Zcash node to make a newsletter service or a newsletter app. So this uses the Z send many RPC. So on Zcash, it's possible to send a shielded transaction to many, many people. It does also mean now that your transaction fee is going to be high, like proportionally high to the number of people that you're sending to. But of course, if you have a newsletter, it could be a free newsletter, or it could be a newsletter that people are subscribing to. I don't know where it's gone. Okay, yeah. could be a newsletter that people are paying a subscription fee for. So think about the types of things, the types of messages that you want to send out into the world. You could be like a super trader, super Zcash whale trader, and you want to give people insights into things that no one knows about, or like fundamental analysis, or research that you've done. And so people subscribe in ZEC, shielded, so they have the benefit of being like their anonymous subscribers. You just have a list of shielded addresses which you manage. And yeah, so you could be a trader, or you could be like a true cypherpunk. You could be a freedom fighter in your country. Like, it's just, it's there for you if you want it. And yeah, so interesting things that you could do with this. You could have multiple publications. So in one publication, you could be sending out poetry, and in another publication, you could be trolling politicians. And yeah, so something like this is possible to build. Maybe a final thing to note is, or two more things, is that you could set a one-time subscription fee, or you could set a recurring subscription fee, like once per month, or once per quarter, once per year. All you need to do is just like figure out which addresses have paid, and it sounds strange because you don't know the address that you've received from, but in fact, to subscribe to the, well, you do know. So here's the shielded newsletter. So I don't know if this is going to work. Let me try and see. Ryan's warned me against this. I'm going to open my Zcash wallet.
Should be all right.
Yeah. Okay, copy address. So here we have a valid shielded address, and so what the contents of this QR code is the publication that I've subscribed to, and my address that I want to receive the newsletter to. So the person that's managing the newsletter service is able to know which addresses have paid the subscription fee when. And so using that, you can just know, like, this person didn't pay for the past 3 months, so remove them until they pay the subscription fee, and then they're brought back onto the active list. So I'm saying all of this because here's the main message. What this allows for is like an entire economy of services where you're broadcasting music over the internet, you're sending out newsletters, you're giving people advice, you're sending poems to people that want to read them, and there's just a whole plethora of use cases. And if you need help setting any of this up, jump into the Zcash Discord. If you're proficient at this, host a workshop. If you figure out how to do any of these things, host a workshop for it. And yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Wow.
I'm really excited about this use case. Like I mentioned earlier, I like it when these cryptocurrencies are doing newsletter sign up. It's a really powerful thing because it allows people to anonymously subscribe to newsletters. Like it's a bit more difficult for the newsletter distributor to remain anonymous in this because like you have to put a sign up form somewhere. You have to have some way of them signing up to your thing, and whether this is an anonymous hosted website, which is not an easy thing to do, or however you distribute the sign up sheet is really where there's going to be some leaks for you, the content creator. But the real value of this, what I see as the real value of this is that people can subscribe and they can remain anonymous. So you don't end up with people getting in trouble for subscribing to your newsletter, and like this sort of thing can happen, where the audience gets gone after, so to speak.
Yeah,
So I think it's a real cool
like,
thing.
I think Zec pages like kind of facilitated a little bit of that, you know, to some extent. Like people would advertise, not like I can't recall anything off the top of my head, like except like write a song for you, or something like that. But pretty much kind of the same thing. Just a RPC support it has. I think when long ago, there was like Zec Wallet full node that also like might have given you some like API to access. But yeah, right now
Excited about the hackathon, the Zec Hub hackathon. So keep us posted.
Will do. Cheers.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. So we're like a bit over time. It's no big deal. These 90-minute things, it's more of a goal, but we tend to ramble. I tend to ramble. So let's kind of wrap this up a little bit. I want to come back to the workshops. I mentioned earlier that we'd close with some information about workshops, a real call to action for the workshops, because on Monday we will be releasing guidelines for how to do your own ZKAV Club Foundry workshop. And it will require a bit of work. These aren't really simple things that we're asking, because we are giving this 5 Zec reward for successfully delivered workshops. And you have to collaborate with us, so contact us. Look for these guidelines that will be coming out on Monday. And there are a few overview items that I'll mention before. Like, I don't want to spoil anything about the guidelines. They're pretty basic. It's just like how to create content, and we ask you for like a description and thumbnails and a script and things like this, or an outline, as Roosevelt was talking about earlier. You can use a lot of the tips that we talked about today to help make your workshop more successful, and we will do what we can to help it be more successful, whatever your metric for success is. So these workshops are available. The guidelines will be published on Monday. They will, from this point on, we will only be free open source software tools. So in recent months, we have done workshops with using Adobe Premiere, using Canva, using different proprietary, oftentimes expensive software solutions. This is good. It's a good way to practice this workshop and figure out what it is, but it's not necessarily what ZKAV Club is about. We really try to focus on open source and decentralized peer-to-peer tools. So I want the workshops to be about that as well. You can search YouTube for Adobe Premiere workshops or tutorials and guides and find it probably in your language. It's not an uncommon thing. But finding a tutorial or on the Internet Archive command line interface, for example, there's nothing that's been released for the last like 5 years. So I went ahead and did that workshop, which now makes it fair game for anyone else to do a workshop on the same topic in your own language. So the topic list is going to be specific, and it is related to our Foundry sessions that we've done in the past. This currently stands at restreaming. You can do a workshop on how to restream using OBS or just the browser. There's different ways to restream something that you're watching, like this session of ZKAV Club Foundry. So you can check out our workshop on restreaming. It was actually part of the first session of Foundry before we split the workshops off into their own thing. Live transcription and translation of a live stream, and that rebroadcasting technology, this process that's been developed over the last 2.5 years in ZKAV Club. John started it, Rabmar has been running with it, and Rabmar has translated live translation restreams of several Zcons now, and it has done amazing things to grow the Zcash community, specifically into the Spanish-speaking world. This is a really big deal when it comes to growing your community, and the combination of live transcription, translation, and restreaming. This is something that like Google doesn't offer live translation on a live stream, so people can step in and we decentralize the workload, and you are watching a live stream on YouTube, you run it through some software, get text translation into whatever language you want to support that community of, and then you can rebroadcast out a live stream. This is very, very, a very good tool for growing a community. I've been really blown away by it, and it's a cool thing to see people really grasp and start embracing. So you can do a workshop on that, live transcription and translation. We have one in Spanish, and there was also one in Portuguese that I don't know if that recording ended up anywhere. So Yogi, I would be interested in seeing another one on any of these topics from you, but also from anyone else. So there's restreaming, there's live translation. We've got workshops. The actual act of creating a workshop, you can get real meta and do a workshop on how you do a workshop. I wouldn't recommend this as your first workshop, like start with restreaming or the live translation. But once you have done a couple of workshops, then I would love to hear how you're doing it. And again, like in whatever your favorite language is, wherever you're comfortable with, this is really about growing communities, and there's no better way to do that than to take this information from our English-speaking audience and bringing it to your community. If you care about this content, then you might have friends who do as well. So you can share this information, add to it, expand on it. We'll continue to learn from each other. Clip editing is a real nice workshop option. This is what Zcash Brazil just produced, and our Zcash in Espanol community did one on clip editing as well. Excellent stuff. The ZKAV Club channel has the Zcash in Espanol workshop. Check Zcash Brazil on YouTube to see their editing workshop. Both of those included proprietary software. Roosevelt went a little bit into Kden Live, and I would love to see more workshops on Kden Live. It's really an awesome solution for video editing now. I was playing with the translation and transcription AI tools there last week, and it's really neat also. So clip editing, basic video editing, this is an option for a workshop. The Internet Archive command line interface, go watch that workshop on the ZKAV Club channel. Do your own workshop in your own language, and we can get the reward to you that way. Recording stations. The topic of our last ZKAV Club Foundry was this recording station concept that we're working on, that we deployed at Berlin Blockchain Week, and we'll be taking it to a lot of other live events. This is a really modular and customizable thing. These recording stations, they're intentionally customizable. We're real big on using the technology that you have to create content and start getting involved in growing your community. So how you do a recording station is really interesting to me, to this crew, but also to the other communities that are watching your content for inspiration on how they can start making stuff like this. So I look forward to seeing some recording station workshops in the future. And now after today's broadcast, we have a new topic that's open for community-led workshops, and that is broadcasting. Using open source tools, you can do a workshop showing us how you use OBS to broadcast, how you use it to live stream, basic run-throughs. I'm not really interested in how to install it. Like, this is the type of thing you can find online, but like how you actually use it to produce your live streams. If you've done a workshop, if you've used OBS to do the workshop, you can definitely do a workshop about how you use OBS. ZK Radio is Robmar's project, and I put this in the list because I want to see Robmar do a workshop on ZK Radio, and I also want to enable some of our other communities to be able to use ZK Radio to do their own broadcasts. So if a workshop hasn't been done in the language that you want to do it in, then this is all fair game to you. Anything else related to broadcasting using open source tools, also interesting. OmniFlex was mentioned before, and then we also have like forks of OBS that I'm not aware of. I'm sure that there are some really streamlined forks of OBS. that would
Yeah.
be interested in hearing about.
Super curious to learn more about how Robman is using ZK Radio, and if it might be possible to pipe ZK Radio into Barstool Radio, like when people aren't active, like just multiple radios playing each other's music.
Yeah, yeah, that would be super cool. The way that ZK Radio works, I'm very curious about, and like I want Ramar to do that workshop, and then that means that it's also open for someone to do a workshop in English. So like our workshops won't always necessarily start in English. I did the Internet Archive command line interface one, but then Zcash en Español has really, they kickstarted this project. The workshops, these community-led workshops were their idea. Thank you, Roosevelt and Ora and Rabmar. I am really excited about the idea, and anything that they have done in Spanish is fair game to do your own version of it in English. So yeah, Roosevelt, can you tell us a little bit about like what these workshops, like where did the idea come about? Where's the real power in it in your eyes?
The idea of the workshop is that the community itself feel that, like you say, Ryan, can be part of. For example, in the Zcash community in Spanish, we have the winners of the last clip contest. Remember, what I mean is there is there is community members that knows that use a lot of tools, but they don't give the first step to share that workshop. I think that people sometimes have scenic panic, and we have to push to invite to create. I think a lot of people in the communities in Africa, in Turkey, in Spanish, have a lot of things to share with us, and we have to continue push them to be here with us.
Yeah, this is where the real innovation happens, I think, where it's not this top down me telling people about like my experiences. At least it's not supposed to be. It happens that way a lot, and I want this to change. I want this to decentralize, and really like I want to start learning from all of you. And if you're watching this and you think you have something to share about any of the stuff that we're talking about, especially if you're just learning it, if you're hearing about an idea or you see something in our stream that you want to learn more about, then you can contact us and say, hey, I want to do a workshop on this. There's no better way to learn something than to teach it. I think that's something people say. So like, I have to agree. And then like we'll watch these as well, and we can give you feedback on the workshop to make your content creation, your broadcasts better, or more enjoyable, or whatever advice you need from us. But also, like we learn from you with all of this. There's only so much knowledge and experience that we can gather on our own. We have to do it as a community.
Yeah.
Cool. We have a great experiment today with the instructor Ryan, but the time always is our enemy.
Yeah, the clock is our enemy. Time is our friend.
Well, that's correct.
Yeah, so it's okay. We went a bit over, but that's all right. Like I try to shoot for 90 minutes. I would rather go over than have it cut short. We have plenty to talk about, and it's a good, like you said, it's a good experiment with this structure. Like we can figure out what fits, what needs some more time, how things work. Of course, we can't experiment with just adding the structure. We also had to add Video Ninja and make all of this super complicated for Rabmar. I hope you're having fun, mi amigo. And yeah, so workshops are a great opportunity. Watch for announcements about the workshop guidelines and how you can get involved and make your own workshops. Go check out our YouTube channel to be able to like check out other workshops that we've done. And this is also an opportunity to reach out to other communities. The Internet Archive community really showed up when we did the workshop on their command line stuff. And it was pretty phenomenal turnout on that one. and these are folks who have not joined other ZKAV Club activities. So doing something with the Internet Archive is a good example of how we can connect communities. Getting connected to the OBS community would be really great. It's an open source project that's been running since 2015-ish, I think, somewhere in there. So they have a very active community. Blender as well. Like we're not getting into the stuff that Blender can do, although maybe it falls into video editing. Blender is incredible open source software. So it's definitely AV, that's for sure. And I'd love to see some workshops there.
VLC is too powerful. I want to learn more about VLC, but it's a whole world.
Yeah, VLC is amazing. And like in addition to announcing workshops at sessions of Foundry, like today we announced these, you can do now broadcasting workshops about broadcasting tools. I'm also going to be kind of semi-randomly doing workshops like what I did with this Internet Archive one. And anything that I produce a workshop on, y'all can then take that and do your own version of that workshop too. And the same thing with our Zcash in Espanol / ZKAV Club Foundry team. They will also be continuing to make workshops, and they might not always fall into this guideline list that we're doing, but our team has this exception where, you know, we might decide that we want to do a workshop like one on VLC, and then that becomes possible for you all to do a community-led workshop for your own community. I hope that in August I can do a workshop on how to use VLC for video encoding, and we'll get into the technicalities and all the nitty-gritty of video encoding, and it gets really crazy and complicated. I've been doing this since early 2000s, video encoding for DVD authoring, which is no longer a job. And so like tons and tons of experience doing video encoding. I still don't understand it completely, but it's the tool that's used for it all is FFmpeg, which is an open source project. And I will get more into FFmpeg in the workshop, and specifically using VLC as a front end to interact with it, because FFmpeg is a command line tool, and it is hairy, it is messy, it is super complicated. If you're going to try that route, then I would recommend using OpenAI, ChatGPT, whatever, to help create your actual command line with all the flags and parameters, or just use VLC. And you can also use video editing software, something like Kdenlive, but VLC is amazing, lightweight, and it does just the one thing that you want it to do, instead of having to deal with video editing timelines and all of this extra stuff. So there's definitely requests for VLC encoding, and once I do that workshop in English, then I'd love to see it remixed and see it from your perspective in your own language, communicating to your own community. And get a co-host for your workshops. It makes things a lot easier if you split up some of the tasks. It's a real nice, fun way to do it. The workshops do need to be interactive, so you're going to have to do it in like a Discord chat or a Telegram chat, somewhere that you can get comments and feedback, because this isn't necessarily a tutorial, although some of them might end up that way. I'm aware of this. It's difficult to get a community going, but ultimately the goal is to have these be more like a roundtable workshop where people can ask questions and get feedback, add their opinions, and really open up the conversation. So join us, create some workshops, follow us on X and Blue Sky for more information about the workshops when we announce the guidelines on Monday, and follow us on YouTube, subscribe there. You'll be able to see a lot more of the content that we're going to be releasing, not just Foundry sessions and workshops, but also all of the Berlin Blockchain Week stuff that's going to be coming out in the next week and over the next month. I'm sure it's a lot of content. So definitely follow us on the YouTube Protocol Berg sticker. Protocol Berg was definitely a highlight. It's the event that I started communicating with about the recording stations at Berlin Blockchain Week. They are an incredibly gracious crew. It was a real pleasure to work that event. And I can't wait to show you all some of the content that we that we made. Really good stuff at Protocolberg and all of the others. So while you're at it, and you're subscribing to the YouTube channel or you're watching us on YouTube right now, go back to our main channel and check out the Decentralized Media Summit videos. There's some really cool stuff in there that is not typical from what you'd expect from a tech conference. They really they created this event at the crossroads of journalism and decentralized technology, and it's a very powerful position to be in at this day and age, this epoch, this timeline that we're on right now. Decentralization technologies and journalism are a must, and have been for quite some time. So learn more about that, where we're at and where it's all headed, on the Decentralized Media Summit videos on our YouTube channel. That's about it. Like, I think we're over time. We've covered a lot. I'm looking forward to seeing what you all think about this. So like, post in the comments, tweet at us, comments in YouTube, whatever, and like, keep in touch. We'll have another session of Foundry on August 22nd, where we'll dive into audio recording and processing. We'll talk about this interview that we were talking about earlier with Victor Tron, where we did some pretty fancy work to produce the audio correctly, and then more fancy work to clean it up from background noise and everything. So yeah, we want to get into that as quick as possible because it's super important. Audio is super important, and it's very easy to clean it all up now. So we'll show you that using open source tools. Audacity for the win. So yeah, August 22nd, audio recording and post-processing. And then we have more events coming up for Foundry through the rest of the year. We'll talk about how to produce, first we'll get into the free and open source software and peer-to-peer ways of meeting these platforms, these meeting platforms, like what we're using now with Video Ninja. An alternative would be like Jitsi, like we mentioned before, or if you're not into technically setting up your own Jitsi server, you can use Brave Talk. There's Free2Z is out there. So all of these different places where you can have a small community panel like this come together and produce your own broadcast. Those platforms are going to be the highlight of our Foundry session in September. Then we have how to produce your own virtual conference. We'll take it beyond the meeting platforms. The meeting platforms are used as the hub where your participants will meet. And then like, how do you create a virtual conference or a virtual meetup? Something like what we're doing here, maybe with more interaction. But there's a lot that goes into the background, behind the scenes work beyond just the technical meeting platform. So we're covering meeting platforms first, then we'll get into how to do your own virtual conference. And this, I'd love to see some virtual conferences pop up, and maybe we open up this workshop bounty in November. Maybe we can think about opening up this workshop bounties who also include like making a meetup and do a ZK AV Club meetup for your own community using the tools that we're talking about, and show people how you do that. So that would be really cool. That one's in November, I believe, or let's see, September, October, virtual conferences.
Pretty busy in November.
Yeah. Well, in November, we have decentralized media is the topic for Foundry. This is storage, streaming, and sharing. And this is something that's very dear to my heart, very much at the core of ZK AV Club. We were lucky enough to get involved with the Decentralized Media Summit, and it was just a natural fit. But it wasn't the first time that we've looked at this technology, and we've been keeping an eye on it for quite a while. So I'm super excited about decentralized storage and streaming and sharing. This is file sharing. This is all sorts of interesting ways that, like, how do we share large files between each other in a peer-to-peer way instead of having to pay for giant storage accounts on the cloud that they could just take away from us. All sorts of reasons to use decentralized media in these ways. We have live peer now, and all this really cool stuff. Swarm that we were talking about earlier. So we're getting into that in November. November is potentially going to get hectic. We do have some big events happening in the communities that we have connected with at Berlin Blockchain Week. There is DevConnect, which is a big Ethereum Foundation event that's happening in Argentina sometime towards the end of November. There's also the Internet Archive Wayback Machine celebration of 1 trillion web pages archived on the Wayback Machine, which is pretty phenomenal. And they are asking for support to celebrate this. And I'm going to be in contact with them to see how we can get involved. So we'll have that event happening. There's also DWeb Camp in Brazil. That they're doing it a lot differently this time around. And although I missed the DWeb node leaders meeting that happened, I think it was yesterday. DWeb does have an online meetup next week that I recommend you join. You check that out. Go to getdweb.net. You can sign up for their newsletter. And I believe it's, I think the calendar is on there too. So, dweb.events will get you to the calendar for DWeb. So you can check out their events. They've got some really cool stuff in here. And the next meetup that they have is on next Wednesday. And it's a virtual meetup on decentralized technologies to enable communities to self-organize for mutualistic peer-to-peer power. This is exactly what we're talking about. Like the ZKAV Club largely came from DWeb, so there's still strong ties. And I definitely recommend checking that out, this meetup that they're having next week. And DWeb Camp in Brazil, we're waiting in dates. We're still awaiting on announcements of dates, but I believe that's going to be in November, right around the time of this Argentina event. So a lot happening in November. And then we'll close out the year of Foundry, the first year of Foundry in December. At the end of December, we'll have a recap and updates show, and it'll probably be our shiniest, most beautiful, spectacular live stream because it will be the end of our first season of ZKAV Club Foundry. So a lot to look forward to. There's going to be a lot more structure moving forward. You'll be able to follow us on Luma, and you'll see announcements of new events and new workshops through there. Subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on X and on Blue Sky. And that's all I've got. Y'all got some closing thoughts to share, or like how we feeling about this session?
Wow. Go ahead. Who, John?
No, I just clicked on my microphone. I don't really have anything
okay,
else
okay.
to add, man. I just clicked on-
Okay. No, it's, this year is happened very fast, I think. But like you say, Ryan, it had been a good experiment to learn, to grow up, to evolve, and really feel happy for the opportunity to work with you, to share with the community what we know, and we are happy for the future.
The dream team.
Yeah, absolutely. It has been going fast this first year of Foundry. They didn't really start until February, I guess. January was kind of like getting things up to speed, having the idea of Foundry and getting the grants accepted, and then we've been experimenting and changing the format and trying different things, while also doing all this other ZKAV Club stuff that's not even related to Foundry. All of our event work is something completely different, and not funded through the grant. So the grant is specific about Foundry, and the grant is paid up through the year. So we will continue to speed up, to go faster. The community-led workshops, like I really want to see this initiative grow. So definitely watch for those guidelines and get involved with doing your own workshops. This is a clear measure of success for us if we can get people to create workshops and really spread this on an exponential level. Spread this information, spread the use of open source software. If you care about privacy, then you should absolutely care about open source software. If you're using proprietary software, you have no idea what the software is doing with the content that you're creating or the data that you're putting into it. This goes for operating systems and video editing software and even Google Docs. So like, use open source software, love open source software, contribute to open source software projects, whether it's education or writing code, whatever excites you. Great. Thank you very much, team. Thank you,
Vale.
Robmar, behind the decks,
Excellent,
running the show.
excellent.
Thank you, Squirrel, John, Roosevelt, for joining. Thank you, Aura, for running everything on social media and for keeping track of our chats. And thank you, Dan, who wasn't able to join us for the live stream, but your support is always felt. And yeah, watch Zashi and Zcash channels for the content that Dan is releasing. Watch ZKAV Club for all the stuff we'll be releasing. Watch ZechHub for more information about how you can do cool shit with Zcash.
Hell yeah. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you
Cheers,
all.
everyone.
See you next session.
Yeah, we'll be in touch.
The
All right,
seven.
bye, everyone.
The seven.
Okay, bye.
Bye.